Hey guys, welcome back to Sea of Infinity. Today I wanted to do a video talking about clearing karma, which I feel like is such a common topic in the spirituality realm, but can so often be talked about in such a negative punishment way. So I kind of like the idea of kind of reframing it in a more just a neutral, just is what it is type way. But before we do delve into it too much, I do just want to apologize as well for the delay in getting this video out. I've just been, going through my own spiritual awakening process, and as I've mentioned before in other videos, I'm no expert or professional in this area at all. I've recently gone through my own spiritual awakening, and it's through that and the downloads and information I receive, whether it be from my higher consciousness source, the universe, however you want to describe it, have been, implementing that information into my own journey. So I'm kind of going along and learning things all the time as well, and still so I'm not here claiming to be oh, I'm at the end of my journey and this is how it's done. It's I'm literally going through my own journey too, and I feel that it is a lifelong journey, right? So I feel that kind of is the journey of life. But as part of that as well, that I'd like to just quickly talk about, just not to scare anyone or anything or put worries out there, but just in case through your own journey, if you experience anything similar, just to hopefully put your mind at ease a bit, that it just is a natural occurrence of these things that can happen, and it's not anything to do with you personally, if that makes sense. So through clearing my own, working on clearing my own karma and purging certain repressed energies, or working through old traumas or things like that, putting new boundaries and beliefs in place for my life, have also simultaneously noticed it's almost that energy being purged out formed into life experiences or things that happen, and so not only has it is it not emotionally draining and exhausting and such, but just also things just bizarre dreams and things that just keep me up at night or wake me up, or or people in my dreams that I've never met before, just saying really bizarre things, and paranormal type activity experiencing around my home and stuff, which I've never experienced before, so that's been a bit of an adventure. Or even just things people in my life, or things that it's almost through certain new steps or actions that I'm taking, they react really strongly and negatively to it, almost in a I hate to use these sort of words, but in a demonic possessed way or something, they've been overcome by a whole new persona or something. But so all those sort of things can happen, not saying they will, but all that sort of stuff can absolutely happen, and it's totally normal and part of the process. So don't be overcome by fear or anything like that in those circumstances. Always going back to a place of love and calm, and just knowing it's just another ride to wave through, and always an opportunity for you to learn more about yourself, life, and your journey, and everything like that. And there's also, as they say, the more that you do go through these sort of processes and spiritually awaken and cleansing your energy and auras and stuff that a bit more, it's your own light, your own source light gets brighter, and almost attracting more moths to the flame, so you can kind of envision, think of those experiences moths to your flame coming, rather than to see it as a personal thing or something that you need to have qualms or worries about, that you need to escape from or something. It's more just a natural process that you can then learn new ways to respond, and energetic protective practices and stuff to help keep yourself grounded, to kind of help alleviate the symptoms of those moths coming at you, you know, almost like the more you're able to strengthen your own energetic practices is like your ability to almost like zap those moths away. Not that we literally want to zap them, you know, we're not trying to cause harm out here, but the metaphor. Yeah. So moving on, I guess, away from that sort of aspect of things and then into the more root topic of clearing karma. I guess I'd like to just first start off talking about how people often think or often refer to as karma as being like such a bad thing, like, oh, you've got bad karma, or the karma, and in a way that it's almost like a punishment, right? I feel like it's so often talked about in a way like it's like all these things you've accumulated out of your wrongdoing and shame on you, and this is your karma, you know? And I just feel like that's not the way it's meant to be, or at least not the way I like to think about it anyway. I feel like it's meant to be a more just a neutral, it is what it is type energetic process, because we are energetic beings living in an energetic world, and it's just the way it kind of works is the way I like to think of it more, especially when you do think of it more as like it's a balancing of energies within yourself and your environment, as well as then attracting certain energies based on your own energy and the energy of your environment, right? So it's not necessarily such a thing about punishment or things like that, as much as it just is a happenstance of energetic signatures and the way that they react together. Especially when you think of things like, you know, no one's at fault for the life they're born into, and so often the things that we accumulate karma or, you know, karmic type energies from is from like our life experiences and, you know, the life we lived, the things that happened to us, the things we did, the families we were brought up in, the cultures or the beliefs we were brought up in. Like, there's so many factors that come to play that then affect your energetic signature and attract certain karmic energies to you that isn't actually who you are to the root. So it's not about punishing you, because as I've mentioned in other videos, like, we already are divine within and are a divine pure energy and soul like underneath it all. And so the karmic energies or your energy signature surrounding you based on the life journey you've gone through isn't your identity, or isn't a reflection of who you actually are. It's more just like the dust you have on you that you've got to like work through, or that you've got to clean off, or no, that sounds bad, but you know what I mean. Yeah, it's like, it's just a happenstance rather than something that you need to take on as being like, oh, I've got all these karmic experiences, or I've got all this karmic energy because of who I am fundamentally, and letting it bring you down in that way. Like, don't let it identify or attach to who you perceive and feel yourself as, because that's not the complete inner truth, you know? Yeah, especially as well when a lot of karmic energies as well, I feel, are based off our internal and subconscious energies, beliefs and thought patterns, and those sort of energies that we're putting out into the world a lot of the time, not even realizing that we are. So a lot of the time, like, you know, it's not really people's fault, the karmic experiences they find themselves caught up in, or that they're being, you know, dishing out or receiving, or it is just kind of a natural energetic reaction that's coming out from them and then being reacted by others or the surrounding experiences and environments. And so just kind of, I feel like once we're able to realize that, it's more about a realization and accountability and things like that for the energy that you are holding, realizing that it's not you or your fault per se, but you still have a responsibility and an accountability for how that is playing out in your life, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I feel like it's you know, like, karma's more a process to be moved through, and a journey that we're going on rather than who we are, or rather than it determining or labeling what we are, and is more about the journey of forming or allowing us to become into a higher realization, remembering and knowing of that which we really are. It's almost like the karmic experiences help us to realize that which we are not, because when we're in those situations, even though we may be a contributing factor, could be a heavily contributing factor in those karmic experiences, we still can feel that we don't like it, or that we don't feel like that is who we really are, or that's not who we actually want to be, which is all signs showing us that's because it isn't who we fundamentally are meant to be, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I feel like through the process of like clearing and moving through your karma, you're able to then, essentially you're going through the process of healing and loving yourself more authentically, so that you're able to express yourself more authentically, feel yourself more authentically, and just be yourself more authentically, rather than feeling like you're being pushed, swayed, or distracted, or influenced by energies that you don't feel like are authentically your energy signature. And so I also feel like a lot of this sort of energetic type work, because I guess it's not all necessarily clearing karma, but it is all like an energetic process within yourself. And so I feel like a lot of it as well isn't just so much cleansing out and detoxing all these energies or removing certain aspects, but also balancing the certain energies that do remain or that are your true nature, balancing them within yourself to become a more cohesive self, rather than fractured or fractaled off into so many different aspects of yourself. Kind of like, I feel like as well, such an idea of how people say, like how you have the light and dark aspects of yourself, or like the shadow, or the shadow work that you need to do, and even just like two modes of brains, ways of thinking, logical, emotional. There's always just like an almost like a two sides, two halves of this energetic process within ourselves that also can be attuned and brought more into balance, so they're not like conflicting with each other, and can instead just come down into a more cohesive, balanced swing together, rather than and it can be like I feel like kind of like the idea as well when people say, oh, you're going to take the blue pill or take the red pill. Well, it's like, take both and have the purple pill, right? Like balance them together and boom, there's your true power. So one of the main aspects of clearing karma is the shadow work, which a lot of people, I'm sure you've heard people talk about it before. It's such like a big aspect of spirituality and psychology and all that sort of stuff, and it really is like such an important part of your karmic experience as well, I feel, because I feel like a lot of the energies that draw certain karmic experiences to us are energies rooted in the shadow aspects that we have locked away, but they're still like permeating, like throwing a little energy signature out there. Even though we've shoved them behind us, they're still at work bringing experiences to us. So it's kind of like having to face and address those aspects that you've like shoved in the closet, bringing them out, dusting them off, getting familiar with them, to kind of help address and understand why certain things may be occurring the way that they are for you. So part of like shadow work, so addressing those sort of traumas, fears, doubts, beliefs, programming, issues that you continually find yourself coming across in your life, issues that you feel that you may continually be having a problem of repeating, or things like that. Just, all that sort of stuff that is kind of rooted down within our psyche, that you kind of just need to pull out of the filing cabinet and sift through and kind of analyze a little more, and just take a bit more of a logical approach to it in some aspects too, to kind of analyze and get a bigger picture view of how it all connects together. And most importantly, looking at how all of those things, whether it's, you know, traumas you've experienced, fears that you have ongoing, certain like behaviors or thought patterns and such that are just, you can feel are no longer serving you or were never serving you, that you do wish to release from your experience. And by being able to realize those things is then how you're then able to take the steps to work on them. But the first step is the realization, right? And addressing not only what are the issues, but like, where are they, you know? But yeah, just doing that sort of work is really important. And then I feel like as well, so often with these sort of journeys and clearing karmic energies and stuff like that, people can feel very pressured to like stay in a high positive vibrational state at all times, or not wanting to let any sort of, you know, dense or lower experience enter their like realm of reality. And in some aspects that can become a bit toxic and unhealthy if you're not allowing the work that has to be done in order to further your growth. Like, we still do need a healthy balance of those lower, what feels like lower moments of like emotional purging or things like that, or going through certain experiences in our life, because that's just how it helps us to bounce back to that higher, more positive vibration in a more authentic manner, rather than it being like a forced or, you know, like it's something that you're like trying to habitually train yourself into. It's just rather something that you are, because you are allowing yourself to ebb and flow naturally between those higher and lower states in order to purge out any energies or thoughts that you need to purge out, or in order to come to higher or new realizations, or to, you know, learn certain things. Just, you know, constantly observing and analyzing yourself and the way you do feel, react to certain things can just like teach you so much moving forward to then elevate you to an even higher place vibrationally. So it's not like having to feel such a disappointment of like, oh no, I feel like I'm going back down, because there's so much through all those down moments that we learn that like catapult us back up to an even higher state than we were before. Yeah, so just embracing the ebb and flow of that journey as well, and not being like overburdened or over worried by those experiences, or by allowing yourself to experience those. Yeah. So yeah, so with karmic energies as well, like there's obviously just the general sort of energies that can happen and perpetuate in your life, whether it's like, you know, just certain bad luck happenings, or certain things that just continually seem to go wrong in your life, you know, there's all that sort of stuff, etc. But I feel like one of the main things that people experience and that kind of like to work through with this sort of stuff is like the karmic relationships. I feel like that is the sort of stuff where it can get a bit more complicated, because it's not just as simple as, oh, here's this experience that's, you know, causing me a bit of energetic distress, and I can just, you know, remove that object or remove that experience or remove that thought. When it's an actual person and another being that's bringing that experience to you, it can be a little more complicated and bring up a lot more emotions and things to work through to try to find that balanced ground and a place of where to move forward. And I feel like a lot of the time as well with karmic type relationships, it can often first of all feel very confusing, especially if it's someone you love, or it's an important relationship in your life, like an important like family figure, close friend, or like a close relationship, like romantic relationship. It can feel hard to even, first of all, know if it is a karmic relationship, and then know what are the best or the right steps to take. Especially when it is, you know, someone that is important to you, or someone that you love, or someone that loves you. You know, when there's all those sort of really heightened and important feelings and connections involved, it can make it all that much more complicated. But I feel like the true root of it all to get to is to really kind of think about, and when you're going back to your own like divinity as well, and your own sort of centered state of being, and your authentic self, and who it is that you're, you know, you feel that you are and are wanting to become in a more authentically expressive way. Kind of thinking of yourself in that way, the way, you know, you feel when you're at peace or at calm, and then thinking of these possible karmic relationships in your life, and about the way, if you kind of remove the attachment to the idea of this, you know, there's love here, but when removing the way that that idea of, oh, there's love here, that makes you feel, and putting it more down to the root of how does this person, taking away the aspect of, you know, the identity of, or the label of the relationship that we've put over the top of this relationship, how is that person like actually making you feel? How is that person, you know, what experiences, feelings, emotions, that sort of stuff are they bringing to your experience in life, or that you're bringing to them? Like, how are your energies reacting together, and how is that reaction making you feel, or experience is it giving for your life? Do you feel like it's helping your life or yourself expand, or do you feel like it's hindering yourself or your experiences? And I feel like that's such a common indicator, because so often, like, karmic relationships, it's not to say that, oh, that just means that they're just someone that shouldn't be in your life, or that they're a terrible person, or that you're a terrible person. It's just often that it's just people placed in each other's lives to be able to teach each other, you know, lessons or growths or realizations that enable them to then go off and expand themselves more fully. So it doesn't have to be such like a negative thing. And I think it can be difficult as well when you're thinking about, I feel like so often as well can become really tricky too then, once you may realize, like, I feel like, you know, this is a sort of relationship or person that, you know, could be a little karmic in nature. You know, I feel like I realize the lessons I'm meant to grow for this. Maybe, you know, it's a lesson that you need to learn to be able to set more personal boundaries for yourself and your own energy, whether you need to, like, you know, learn to respect yourself more in certain circumstances and not be like such a people pleaser or a pushover, and standing up for what you want and believe and is best for you, or whether it's more about, you know, teaching you the way that you're going about certain things is causing certain reactions in people, or maybe teaching you that, you know, the way that you truly authentically are just isn't a vibrational match for the way that though that person is as themselves currently, or who they are authentically. You know, there's so many possibilities for what the points of lessons or growth can be or will be, and is so often determined, like I said previously, from those earlier subconscious like fears and traumas and things like that that we are here to like work through and grow from. And if we're not, it's almost like we get these people's, places and experiences put in our life to kind of continually trigger us into addressing these sub-rooted or forgotten, put in the back burner type issues, in order to help us really face it head on and learn the lessons or learn the realizations we need to enable us to come to a higher awareness and to grow more authentically and with more strength within ourselves. And so yeah, so like, and I know sometimes as well it can feel, with these sort of karmic relationships as well, it can feel very debilitating or personal in a way, or very heart-wrenching as well. Like if it's someone that's very close to you, and you know, it's just like we view our lives that they should be a certain way, and we should be able to have like these perfect relationships with all the close people in our life, and that, you know, it should just be like this perfect, amazing experience, but then it's not, right? And then you can get a lot of doubts about yourself, like, is it because of me? Is it because I just don't deserve happiness? Or, you know, there's so many spirals of negativities you could go down. And also just from feeling very maybe insecure or things like that in yourself by the way these karmic relationships are affecting you. It can make you feel like, well, why don't they love me as much as I feel like I love them? Or why are they treating me this way when I feel like they do love me? Or, you know, all those sort of confusing aspects too. And I feel like such a good way to like think about it is like through this journey and stuff that we're on, like we aren't yet at like this perfect, you know, heaven on earth type timeline or version of ourselves. But like the infinite version of ourselves exists everywhere, spread out, you know, through all of space and time. And as they say, you know, like time is an illusion, and so it's like everything everywhere all at once, it always existing at once. So the way I like to kind of think of it is like we're all at different stages interacting with each other to help us grow, but the end all be all future versions of ourselves is all us being our true authentic selves, and we do like love and care for each other in like a true authentic way. And so that's why you may like kind of feel that connection with people, because it's like it is true in some space and time, but it's just not true for your experience right now. Not that it's not true, but almost like I feel like a good way to think of it is almost like you could think of, say you have a karmic relationship with someone in your life that you may have some troubles putting some boundaries up with, just to give yourself some more space, you know, feeling a bit of guilt or shame from that, or also just, you know, feeling, you know, very upset and work because you do feel an attachment to this person and you don't want to let them go, even if you do feel like it's going to be beneficial for both of your growth. You know, it can be a very hard thing to detach from people and things, and I feel like that's why through like in spirituality they put such a high importance on not becoming attached to anything outside of yourself, because all of that is temporary. But I feel like that can be such a hard just like way to shove that down someone's throat, like just don't be attached to anything because it's all just gonna fade away, like Urgh! And I feel like that's not like the exact way to kind of look at it and think about it, but more that they're not going to always be here or around you, no, but just because they are here now doesn't mean they always will be, but just because they're not here doesn't mean they won't be again, if that makes sense. Like I feel like just as much as nothing is permanent, like nothing is permanent, so just as much as them being in your life isn't permanent, them not being in your life isn't permanent either. Like I feel like we continually go in and out of being in each other's experiences, and especially when you think of things of like the higher timelines and going to places like heaven and stuff like that, where we are all together in a higher authentic vibration. Like yeah, I just feel like it's not so much, it can seem so doom and gloom, like oh my god, if I cut this person out or if I put boundaries up with this person I might not ever see them again, or I might not ever get to speak to them again. And I just really don't feel like that's the way that life in the universe and infinity works, you know. And I feel like it's kind of a great way to think of it, especially with a lot of these sort of karmic relationships, when you do start trying to put some of these boundaries in place, or you know, start treating yourself or behaving in a way that's a bit different and but you feel is good for your growth and the way you're wanting to go, that these karmic energies can be a little put off by that and can react a little negatively or a little aggressive about it, or you know, all sorts of things. And it might seem a little like out of place for them, a little out of place just for what you're used to, and all of that sort of stuff can get confusing too. And that's why I feel like it is such a good way to think of how there are so many versions of ourselves, like we all are infinite. And so just kind of thinking that this is the version of them that the universe has put in front of you in order for you to go the way you need to go. And so not trying to take it personal or make it like a personal thing between either of you, but instead just kind of see it as a way of like the universe being like, all right, and we're going this way now, like, do, you know? And so those things might become more heightened or more intense as that step becomes more important, because it's almost like the universe's way of like squeezing you through it, like, all right, you've got no choice now, we've really got to pop you out through here. And so as like traumatic sometimes as those experiences almost can be or seem, I feel like it helps a lot if we kind of ground ourselves back to that way of thinking about it, where it isn't such a personal thing and it is just a matter of like, this is just the version of them that the universe is showing up for me right now. And I've just got to take it as it is, do what I can with it, and learn from it, you know? And not be so bogged down in ideas of what this means for long-term future, because so many things can chop and change all the time. And it really is about doing what's best for you, because what's best for you at the end of the day is going to enable you to have your more centered state of energy, allowing you to have a more authentic and like centered experiences in your life, which is just like a ripple effect for everyone around you as well, which even if the karmic relationships that maybe you put some boundaries up with, or you've, you know, cut contact with, or, you know, you've just changed approach with, at the time they may not have been so on board with or happy about, eventually they will see that you are doing better through those steps and actions, and it may not as well, because some people, you know, in our lives, they're just their journey is to be here to help others on their journey by triggering them, for example, and they're just never going to get to a place of healing themselves in this lifetime, and that's totally cool, because we have so many lifetimes, so like no stress, you know. But I do feel like sometimes, yeah, they can then get to a point, some of them, of it may later down in the track trigger their own healing journey and may help them come to some realizations as well. So it doesn't have to all be such a doom and gloom process, even though it may feel really terrible and hard in the moment for all the parties involved. It's more not getting caught up in the emotional, karmic, traumatic battle of it all, of all these energies and the chaos, and coming back to that centered approach of, you know, being grounded in what it is that you feel, who you are, who you're trying to become, like, you know, and what avenue of growth and direction you're trying to go towards, and just staying grounded in what all the surroundingness means for that, and not letting the surroundingness overconsume you, you know, you instead keeping your mindset over the chaos instead of letting the chaos become your mindset. Yeah. And so, yeah, so through this journey of, you know, working through trying to release karmic type energies or karmic type relationships and stuff, I feel like a lot of the big part of it is about, you know, releasing control, particularly like over not just like yourself and others, but around releasing control over how you thought things might go, or how you thought things should be, how you thought certain people should be, or what they should mean to you, etc., etc. Just releasing complete control and just allowing things to be as they are, accepting things as they are, and instead working with things as they are and finding what it is that you're trying to look for as it already is, if that makes sense, rather than trying to take these karmic energies and turn them into something you want them to be, accepting them for what they are, and just instead finding what it is that you're wanting, if that makes sense. So rather than trying to shove a square through a circle hole, you know, instead put down the square and go pick up a circle type vibe. And so through that process as well, in your own journey, it's like it's never going to be perfect. Like, we're all human. You're still going to make mistakes, and that's all part of the journey as well, you know, the lessons, the growth. And so as part of like the releasing control for that, also just, you know, doing your best to release judgment for yourself and others and the experiences you're all having, and doing your best to stay in a place of forgiveness for yourself, your others, and acceptance for yourself and others, and the way that things are evolving or unfolding. And so through doing that as well, I feel like it's easier for you to come to a place in a more calm state where you're able to set more clear, healthy boundaries and steps forward for yourself from a state of loving yourself, and loving others, rather than from a state of anger or fear, or being like, you know, caught up in turmoil. Yeah, and so like through that, I feel, you know, we then are all able to eventually kind of move away through these like karmic illusions where it's almost like, you know, there's a best version of everyone out there somewhere, but you're getting this watered down illusion of them to teach you things. It's like the more we're able to all align with our authentic truth, and become our own authentic energy, the more that everyone else around us is able to as well, and all those sort of illusions for lessons and growth can start to fade, and everyone can start to just become their best self a bit more together. Yes, I feel like it's also, you know, important about digging into your own inner heart truth and your own inner like knowing and knowledge of what you want, who you are, and what path you want to take, as opposed to trying to find that truth through outside noise or the opinions of others, because their truth is, you know, their truth not only, but it's also distorted through their own egos and karmic experiences and such, then coming out to you. So it's quite a distorted truth in that sense as well for you. Whereas if you're able to tap in more to your own truth and guidance, then you're being more aligned to going the way that you're meant to be going, or that you feel you should be going, and is more authentic to you. But whilst also, you know, balancing that with the logic of your mind, to kind of help you balance it together to get a clear path and clear direction forward, because we do live in, you know, like a logical 3D type environment. However, you know, I feel like just using the logic of the mind can become so chaos and confusing, because as powerful and amazing, you know, as the logical mind is, I feel like it is also almost like a sea of infinity in itself, and there's so many options, so many outcomes, so many possibilities, and it can become a bit chaotic and convoluted in itself. So it's almost like aligning the logic of the mind with your inner heart pathway guidance to really align it for a clear direction forward, as opposed to listening to or finding too much truth or guidance in the noise outside of yourself, which obviously can still be so helpful and still so important, because it still is, you know, a reflection of yourself and your journey, but also just getting into practice and strengthening more that own inner compass within yourself, in order to help create a balanced path forward. So I feel like this sort of journey, like I said, it's not about being perfect, but being willing to be human, like feel all the feelings that come up through the journey, and really just, you know, taking time to become more in tune with yourself, being more, you know, accountable for yourself and the way you feel, all the thoughts and beliefs and such that you have, you know, whilst, you know, finding your truth and making mistakes on the way, you know, being humble about that, you know, and just allowing yourself to be who you are, allowing yourself to make those mistakes, allowing yourself to, you know, go down different avenues to find who you are. Like, at the end of the day, it's all still a learning process, as they say. So like, there are no wrong turns, right? Like, you can always get back on the path that you're wanting to be on. So I feel like in that aspect, it doesn't have to be taken so seriously as sometimes it can be made out to, especially I feel like in certain, you know, religions and such, or when you think of like the typical person who goes to church or stuff, like the stereotype. I feel like so often when people think of these karmic energies or doing this sort of work, that you need to be so like prim and proper, or so like to, you know, following a certain guideline or rule book, or a certain way, or, you know, presenting a certain way, or saying certain things. And it just, I don't feel like that's so important. I feel like it's more about allowing yourself to breathe, you know, to relax, to be, and to like fall into the process, and kind of, you know, going along with the ride as that takes you, learning. You know, I just don't feel like it has to be such a rigid, this is punishment, sin, type avenue to the journey, you know, because we all are human. Yeah, we all are human, you know, we're all in and on this journey together, you know, and we're all, you know, reflections of each other in that way, even in the sense of, as I was saying before, almost like, you know, infinite versions of ourselves and things like that. It's like, you know, we all are drawing these versions of each other into our experiences in order for us all to learn and grow. So just not allowing that to overconsume you so much, or to overburden you so much, because, you know, things just are as they are, because it is what it is. But it can still be changed, and as everything always is changing, you know, it's just about what direction you're taking that change, and learning as you go along, because like you're never completely stuck or completely lost. Like, it's all just part of the journey, and we're all on that journey, so it's okay. You know, even just like with aspects of like religion and stuff, like so many people so often say, like, if Jesus was alive today, you know, he'd be riding around on a motorbike with a leather jacket, because of just, you know. And I feel like that sort of aspect is like such an important way of thinking. Like, it isn't about being so prim and proper or sturdiest, or to a certain point, like you can be who you are. You can be relaxed. You can be whatever. It's like, you know, it's all cool. It's all chill. And so yeah, so as you know, as bumpy and as chaotic as this life journey can seem sometimes, and, you know, the whole aspect of karmic energies and karmic relationships and clearing all that out is, you know, as convoluted and chaotic and, you know, just a little like down it can seem sometimes as well for some aspects of it. I feel like it really does help a lot to like ground and push you forward when you do think of it in that aspect of how it all, like the bigger picture aspect of how we are like all energies, you know, reacting together to eventually become our more authentic, energetic selves, in order to have a more authentic experience, you know, leading on to that heaven on earth experience where there is not so much more of a need for these sort of karmic experiences, and instead, because we are more evolved in ourselves, if you know what I mean. So sorry guys, my phone died at the end there, but I guess a good way to sum it all up, I feel like this whole, you know, karmic clearing and energy process is just a part of life's journey. How I've said before, you know, it's like we're all like these unique energy signatures interacting with each other and learning and growing from it. But I feel so often we're just like unconsciously caught on like these karmic loop cycles where the same things keep, you know, repeating and we keep experiencing the same sort of things. And so it's just, you know, taking a more conscious observer's point to that for yourself, you know, going on your own journey, doing your own work, to become your more authentic self, as we said, whether that's through you know, clearing out traumas and fears, or learning more healthy boundaries that you need to put in place for yourself, or even just things that you need to learn to do better when interacting with others, you know, being more aware of other people's perspectives and places in their journey, you know, whatever it may be, where there's so many possibilities, and, you know, we're all unique and we all have different things we need to learn and grow from. But I just feel like that is part of the process and part of the journey, right? Like, we're becoming more aligned and authentic and conscious within ourselves, and then that has a ripple effect and goes out and affects other people as well, and it's just like this swarming process. And so yes, like through the growth and learning, you know, we may separate from some energies and form new relationships with others, but I feel like it's like the board of life, and eventually, you know, we all mingle around into our own places, and we're all helping each other grow and learn to eventually all rise to these higher states and levels of consciousness to be able to experience together and all live more harmoniously together, which is wonderful. Yeah, so if you have any comments or questions, please don't hesitate to send them through. I hope the information was somewhat informative for you, and if you'd like any like advice or anything for directions for your own journey, like please don't hesitate to ask. As I've said before, like I'm no expert or anything, I'm just going through my own journey and sharing stuff to hopefully help others, but I'm always happy to help, like give advice to people, to give them directions on pathways that have helped me. So sending you all so much peace, love, light and blessings, and I hope you have a wonderful day.